So today we're going to be talking about the hidden cost of buy-to-let. Let's get into it. Hi, I'm Jess.
I'm Adam.
We're forthelandlords.com.
Do that again?
Yep. Hi, I'm Jess.
I'm Adam.
We're forthelandlords.com. We help landlords get more money, less hassle, and their time back. So today we're going to talk about the hidden cost of buy-to-let. And the more you get the full picture, the more confident you're going to be to invest in property, knowing these are some things that could come at you. None of them are too bad, but the more you know about them, the less surprises you will have. So, what we got?
Number one is compliance.
Yeah, it's a thing you've got to get on top of. So there's two costs. One is the cost of getting it right.
Yep.
So gas certificates, electrical certificates, EICRs, EPCs, doing these things. Not actually very expensive, really. You know, gas certificate would be, gas certificate should always come with a service. It's actually going to become law soon that it does. EICRs, as long as it's reasonably simple, it's, you can get a fixed price. You're talking £100 or a few £100s. Remedial work can be a bit more. You should always budget a bit for that. The real cost is not doing it. And that's when you get fines and problems. And it's dead cheap not to do it, until you get caught, and then it's massively expensive.
Yep. Okay. The next hidden cost is voids. Now, I think voids come from probably having bought or inherited, or for whatever reason, owning the wrong property in the wrong area.
Possibly.
A HMO that isn't in a HMO area or an oversaturated area.
I know for a fact.
A really expensive high rent house.
We have done the research across portfolios when I had an underperforming portfolio and we had to optimise it. The biggest cost to me as a landlord was the voids. That was it. Number one cost profit killer for a landlord is the voids. So keeping an empty property, you will never get that money back. And so I agree with you. I think if you get the wrong house, you've got a structural problem there. You can't pick it up and put it somewhere else, so you're always going to have the wrong house. I see so many landlords and letting agents just not focusing on keeping the void tight. We like to keep a void as tight as possible, 14 days maximum, 7 days ideally. And to do that, you've got to be so organised up front. When the tenant gives notice, you've got to do a pre-checkout inspection. You've got to make sure everything's right beforehand. You've got to keep on top of the marketing and just get things done quickly. You let a day or two slip here and there, and all of a sudden your void's 2 months, and that happens.
Yeah. Another thing is I see landlords who do the checkout works, the decorating, try and save some money. On fixing a house up after a long-term tenant's moved out and taking forever.
Yep, I've seen a dentist do this. I don't want to pay you the money to do that. It's £800. Bear in mind, 400 quid of that's coming from the tenant the deposit. The dentist took 2 weekends to do it, and then at the third weekend, it was going to take 4 weekends. The third weekend, realised he got a family holiday, and then didn't get back in time, and then was a bit slow, and then by the time 5 weeks later, it's just about done. He spent all his time doing it, and it wasn't done to a very good standard. That happens. I mean, what does the dentist earn versus what you can pay a decorator to do it? Not
exactly. So that was another hidden cost there was voids. The next one is landlord licensing. A lot of people actually are quite unaware when they're buying a house that licensing exists in that location. I want to explain really briefly what landlord licensing is.
There's different types. You've got mandatory licensing, selective licensing, but if it's a single buy-to-let property in, I wouldn't say random, but in places around the country where you should know, and if you don't, you don't, and if you do, you do. The council where you own the property will clearly have it on their website. There's no national database for that. We have to subscribe to a database, but somebody's put that together, and then the property in that area is subject to selective licensing. In order to rent the property out, you as a landlord have to sign up to get a license. You have to pay for it. There's a cost. There's a cost for ongoing compliance. There is a cost. There's no two ways about it. You have to pay.
There's a massive cost if you didn't have one.
Absolutely, there really is.
And that's for HMOs as well. There's lots of places where you can't create a new HMO because of Article 4. And I hear at least once a month of someone who's gone and put an HMO together in Article 4 location, and then they can't rent it out.
Can't rent it out. I know there's an estate agent over the other side of town selling houses as HMOs that can't possibly be rented as HMOs because they'll never get a license.
Yeah, I've seen one in the window locally.
So beware of that. That sounds like really bad news. I actually don't mind licensing. In some places I like it. If the area is generally okay. There's not that much point in a license, I don't think. A landlord doing things well should be self-governing. There's plenty of laws and rules out there to make sure that they do right. But when you get a deprived area and landlord licensing gets brought in, as we've actively gone towards areas like that, you then see the area increase in quality, value, rents go up. As soon as you see it, you know as an investor, this area is going to go up. We actively seek those areas out.
I've seen it happen.
Yeah, seen it happen all the time.
Okay, 2 more before we finish. Fines. Councils are bringing in fines across the country. They're employing people to actively search for things they can fine for that people just wouldn't be aware of.
Yeah.
For example, going back to the licensing thing, a lot of people don't realise that they'll say, I'm not paying the council for a landlord licence, I've been doing this for years. They don't realise you could be fined with a rental repayment order and have to pay back all the rent that your tenants paid during the time they've lived in that house without you having a licence.
Yeah, this is a big cost that we see creeping up. It's all or nothing, it's on or off. If you're not being fined, you're not being fined, and it's not a cost. But when you take a sample of landlords that aren't engaging properly, aren't doing a good job, and then you add up their fines, it becomes probably the biggest. It's
also, you can get into a position that I know you've had, you might want to tell us about this, where the council were trying to fine you quite a large amount.
£21,000.
For nothing. They think you were compliant, but you weren't.
No, but it took a bit of time and effort.
It won't stop them firing out the letter.
No, exactly that. Yeah. So the letters always sound a bit, well, they sound very formal. A fine for £21,000 sounds pretty. But then when you read it carefully, you think, hang on a minute, that's not right. That's not right. Put your evidence in. That took time and effort. It didn't cost money. If you hadn't responded to it, it would have cost. The fine would have. Time ticks on. There's a 14-day period and then another period. You've just got to do these things. It's a bit of hard work and effort. A letting agent should be able to sort that out for you. I didn't do all the work, did I? The guys in the office did it.
We also had an issue where a landlord of ours sold up his HMO and the new owner decided they were going to manage it themselves. And when the council happened to do an inspection or something, they asked the tenant who manages this house, and the tenant just said, for the landlords.
For the landlords.
Because they'd forgotten.
They remember. Yeah.
The council then tried to fine us because they realised that the new owner hadn't applied for HMO licence and said we were managing an unlicensed HMO. We weren't even managing the thing anymore. So we had to go through a right rigmarole of proving that we didn't even manage the house.
We've got a questionnaire sometimes. Where did you hear from us? And some people say on TV. We never advertise on TV, but people just not make stuff up, but they've got an idea in their head.
Exactly. And then the other major hidden cost that we're going to cover today is maintenance. Basically, it's maintenance.
Keep on top of it. Stitching time saves 9, as they say. Keep on top of it. Keep your costs under control. So repairs in time stop a leak becoming a collapsed ceiling. Make sure you've got contractors and a book of contractors that you can call on quickly. The more you've got, the faster stuff will get done, the cheaper stuff will get done. Test quotes for value for money. Don't just say yes to any quote as it comes in. Test it for, can you do it 20% less? Or, I've gone online, I found these different costs. This is what I think it should be, and try and get the price down, definitely. But there is some costs. Maintenance will happen, and there's also the kind of maintenance you call it if you're running a factory, it's capital expenditure. Is all the depreciation of your big capital assets. Capital expenditure is going to happen. The roof is all the time degrading. The boiler is all the time degrading. Those kind of things need changing. It might look like a £2,000 cost for a new boiler. In reality, it's £20 a month for the last 10 years, for example. So,
nice way to look at it.
Less than that.
All right, that's the end of the video.
All right.
Thanks for watching.
Great, thanks so much.
Please like and subscribe, and I think you can get a notification of when the next video drops. So
click the bell.
That's it. The bell. Nice one. Thanks a lot.